Hello, this is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. This game will be in a couple of parts. The first will be an Italian game against a lower rated New Zealand player, and then the final part will be the mad scramble, where I had almost no time left. I played about 15 moves in that many seconds and managed to win by checkmate with 6 seconds left on the clock. Let's go take a look. So this was actually a rematch against my opponent, New Zealand player, Kiwi Thor, and I won the first game pretty quickly and pretty convincingly with a Vienna Gambit, I think. And so in this game, I think I was a little bit arrogant. They are quite a bit lower rated than me. I'm not entirely sure how we got matched up on the chess.com algorithm, actually. They led with e4. So e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop c4, the Italian game. And against the Italian game, I usually play the two knights defense, so knight f6, and then they immediately short castled, which of course hangs that pawn. So I take that pawn, and it should be noted here that yes, black is slightly better, but you will notice that it's not that much better for black. So white can lose that point of material for more rapid development, and white is actually quite okay here. They sort of push, and of course I now to retreat. I need to retreat my knight, basically because it's under attack. And so for that loss of material, it's almost basically a gambit. White is quite a bit accelerated in development, and that's the compensation that they get. They now push that bishop, which I always find a little bit annoying. So here I develop my other bishop. I ignore it. I thought, if they take, I can capture back. So Stockfish thinks that kicking the bishop here immediately is potentially okay. Now, this is part of the arrogance. I think I kind of knew that, but I was thinking that maybe I could set up a rapid attack on the opponent's king, and then maybe I could do something. So that was what I was thinking. But white plays very solidly. So here, kick the bishop, they go back, now sort of forced to trade bishops here. And look, even though black is a bit ahead here, this opening up, this semi-open f-file controlled by white's rook is not particularly good for me because that rook faces the f7 square potentially, and so does their bishop on c4. So this potentially gives some pretty good tricky attacks for white. Now I jump forward, attack that bishop. What are they going to do? Take back. I now jump my knight forward. I knew that I didn't really have an attack here, but I thought if I could sort of jam my knight forward with an attack, maybe something will come up. Maybe white will make a mistake or blunder something. Here, the most solid move was just short castling. I thought about that, but I decided to make that move. And this actually becomes a bit of a problem in the future because there's something called a sunk cost fallacy, which is where after you made an investment in something, you don't want to change that decision. There are a number of places where I really should bring the knight back, and I just couldn't do it because I already made that move. Queen to e2. I now short castle. They developed the other knight, which was a good move, I think, supporting that knight. I wasn't entirely sure what to do here, so I push a queenside pawn. Potentially, there could be an attack there, trapping that bishop, but, they block, which is fine. Here, I thought I would sort of expand. You would see Stockfish thinks that developing that other bishop was a better move. They sort of try to crack in the center. Takes. And here I thought that maybe I could pin that pawn to the queen because, I've got another attacking piece here. You see, Stockfish thinks that attack doesn't work. I need to pull out my knight. And that's why it doesn't work. It's very easy for white to put another defender to that piece, so that no longer works. I now decide to jam that forward, and you can see that was a mistake. This was a mistake, and my opponent is actually quite a bit ahead here. Very well done, 800 player, 800 sort of rated player. I am basically actually losing in this position. They takes back, they pull back their bishop. I think they didn't want to get hit by that. Here again, Stockfish wants me to pull my knight back. Here I could see some problems, with this piece, potentially there's a knight coming. So I actually saw that there were a lot of problems with me along the f-file. I thought, look, I need to bring some of my pieces towards the king side, both for defense and maybe for an attack. That was apparently a mistake. Here, so they bring their knight across. I thought that was okay, maybe. I develop my queen, connect my rooks. Good move. I have to admit, I didn't see that, attacking my queen. And here, I actually had to think for quite a while. I thought maybe I could go into this square with an attack, and eventually I was starting to get spooked. I thought that my Kiwi friend was possibly going to beat me. So I decided to play quite a passive move, 2 squares away from the knight, just for defense. And this was, again, another mistake. With white so gaining a very good advantage. The better move was to put the queen onto this square. And basically because the reason for that is moving this piece gives me a potential mate in one threat. So that is potentially quite a powerful move. So I didn't actually see that in the game. Put my queen back, very passive. White is doing very well in this position. They attack the bishop. I decided to move the bishop back. Look here, I thought it was okay. I've got some attacking pieces along the sort of kingside position. I thought I still had a potential okay attack potentially. They kick my knight, and that's fine because my knight really needed to move. Queen takes that ostensible hanging pawn. That's fine. Now I've got an attack on the queen. They move back. You can see they should have taken. Here, I thought about that attack for a long time. But again, because I was being a bit spooked, I decided not to play aggressively, played a more passive move, just knight captures knight. And happily on analysis, I see that we're really moving back towards equality. At this point, I thought I was potentially actually okay, that there wasn't a very powerful attack by white. This pawn, of course, now blocks that bishop, which is very, very good. Queen captures back, makes sense. I push another queenside pawn. They sort of bring their knight into attack. I thought that was okay. Captures, captures, queen in that position, connecting the rooks. 2 attackers now on that pawn. They block, that's fine. Rook across, attacking, and this is where I think my 800 rated friend started making some mistakes because they moved their rook, moves it all the way back, of course didn't address why they moved it in the first place, so captures, and here I really start to capture an advantage, as you can see, plus 2.5. They bring it back, that's fine. No, I thought I would line this up. Stockfish thinks that just taking that pawn straight up now is okay. Trying to move that bishop, but that's fine. 2 pieces attacking. What are they going to do? And of course, that came with check as well. So king was forced to the side. Now bishop captures bishop. Come on, let's trade. They choose not to do so. I now go on to the second. So 7th and 2nd, very powerful place for the rook. That's fine. That's a problem. Captures. And now I've got this triple battery. And this is the second part of the game. Like the last video, I played this game, with quite a lot of time thinking through spending quite a lot of time to think through my moves. You can see my opponent has almost 13 and a half minutes left. I've got 1. However, because I've got the triple battery, I thought I can now force some trades. And just like in the last game, my outside pawn is probably my biggest asset, as this will potentially force a trade of one of their other valuable pieces once it gets to the 7th or the second rank and then to promotion. So here I saw through what I pretty much needed to do. Fairly simple. Trade down pieces quickly, push that pawn, force a trade, and then I should be basically up a piece and be able to get a relatively easy checkmate with probably a couple of rooks or a rook and a queen. So here we go. They move their rook, which is really a mistake now because that is forced. So forward, trade with check. They move their king. push the pawn. So here, I don't need to make very much thinking at all. Here, that is not a threat because there's an escape square. Push the pawn. And that was a wrong move. They should have aimed to trade the pawn for a rook. But now here, they have to trade the pawn for the queen. So queen captures, captures, queen and rook versus rook, completely winning. That doesn't work. Push the pawn, stop that one from moving forward. Here, oh dear, on the same diagonal. So fork, captures, and now trying to make every move a check. So check, 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 check. And there was probably a faster mate here, just like that. But I was just aiming for checks. Check, mate. Good game. GG. My big takeaway is to not to be too cocky playing lower rated players. I hope you enjoyed this video and thanks for watching.